People love to seek attention, and sometimes people seek attention in the worst way possible, and because of that, OP lost their temper. But can you blame them? G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and get ready for some good stories. Let's go. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law no one cares that she's pregnant? So I'm on mobile and my grammar will probably be bad because today I needed to get drunk. Backstory. My cousin, 33 female, who I'll call Mary, lost her husband, 32 male, and 2 of her 3 children, 3 female and 9 months male, in a car accident last week. Her and her daughter, 5, are, as you would expect, it's just heartbreaking. Well, today was the funeral, and my brother's wife, who was 26, announced her pregnancy the second they arrived at our house this morning. And we're like, okay, congratulations, but please keep it on the down low for today. Well, when we arrived at the church, she kept making gagging sounds and rubbing her stomach saying, I, as a mum, can't imagine what she's going through. They have no kids, so people would look at her and she'd tell them she was pregnant. Afterwards, at my aunt's house, my sister-in-law kept making everything about her, like say, someone's in the bathroom, sister-in-law would loudly say, "Pregnant lady needs to pee." She literally told my cousin's sister to give her seat so the lady with the baby could rest her feet. I ignored her until she came to me. Mary stuck out her flat belly and said to me, "Me and Isaac just found out I was pregnant, and honestly we're beside ourselves that it could happen to us." Mary broke down. I snapped like, who says that to a woman who literally just lost 2 babies? I said loudly to my sister-in-law, "No one gives an F that you're pregnant. Look around. It's not just 1, but 2 babies' funerals. Not to mention the love of Mary's life. Like, I knew you were an attention seeker, but for frick's sake, you took the test 4 days ago, just leave." She did leave in tears, and my brother called me a fat, bitter tramp. I've gotten phone calls from my brother and sister-in-law's family calling me the world of names because I made a pregnant woman cry. If I'm being honest, even though Mary and my aunt thanked me because it was all making her upset, I feel worse about making a scene. Please put me in my place if I'm wrong. No, absolutely not. Their attitude is disgusting. She was more than deserving of a clapdown from you. Who the hell goes and drunkenly says that to a woman that's just lost her family? There's no universe where there's a justification for that behavior. I don't know what the hell everyone else is thinking by, backing her and not you. But they are definitely in the wrong. She is definitely in the wrong. You are not the a-hole in this one. Now in the comments, Thieving Willow says, "This is one of those where I read the title and went, I can't imagine how you could not be the a-hole, and then read the post and went, oh, not the a-hole. I'm not normally a scene-making person, but this is the kind of thing that making a scene is for. I am not normally one for publicly shaming someone, but this is what public shame is for. Sometimes someone's behavior is so far beyond the pale that the kindest and most righteous act for everyone else involved is to make a goddamn scene. Which you did. I'm so glad you were there to stand up for your cousin. Your poor cousin. Your poor cousin's daughter. Reading this made me feel absolutely sick for them. I'll be lighting a candle for them and the rest of your family today." And OP replies, "Please. She needs all the positive energy she can get. I only have negative energy for your sister-in-law, but I'm sending it as hard as I can at her, don't worry." I'm on board with that, but only good vibes for the baby, because that kid's gonna need all the luck with those people as parents. Yikes in advance. Ass holier than thou says, not the a-hole. Things like that aren't things you regret saying. They're things you regret not saying. Oh god, yes. There are things that I regret having said in retrospect, but the things that haunt me are where I should have said something, and did not. I think that's enough comments on this one. It gets really dark, OP recounting the experiences down in the comments there. And I don't want to disrespect them, sharing their accounts of these incidents and what's going on with their cousin. Oh my God, I can't imagine going through that. I'm so sorry that these things happen and this has happened. My best wishes, OP. I hope you keep strong and your cousin is strong too. I really have no words. Our next post is by user Living Life 24/7, titled, "Am I the a-hole for allowing my daughter to miss a school deadline?" So my youngest daughter of 12 years old is nearly a teenager, and now more than ever, I feel that her attitude has taken a turn for the worst. Whenever I ask her to do something, she refuses or moans, or does it in a half-assed way that suggests she only did it to keep me quiet. She throws tantrums when she doesn't get her way, and gets angry and dismissive whenever somebody tries to correct her. I've tried to be understanding because as a woman, I'm aware of how overwhelming puberty can be. And the fact that she's growing up, however, that doesn't excuse her behavior these days. We, myself and my husband, allow her access to a computer. We weren't aware of how much of an addiction it could become for our daughter, and she's begun neglecting schoolwork to play video games instead. I've told my husband that we need to take the computer away, but he insists that it brings her joy, and she only has so much time to relax before the stresses of secondary school. The times where we have restricted her computer time, she makes excuses that it's important for her to use it for school. I didn't notice that she wasn't doing her homework because she'd rather play with her friends or use the computer until only a few months ago, and I began to supervise her doing her homework. I thought that had solved the problem and that she was starting to get all of her work done, only for me to find out that she's been lying about how much homework she gets and only does a portion of it in front of me. Today, she came home from school and I watched her do her homework. I checked her journal as well to make sure that she wasn't lying about the amount she needed to do. She finished her homework and I thought that it was all right. At 10 p.m., I was ready to tell her to go to bed, but I saw that she was working on a school project that she'd been given last week and how it's due tomorrow. She requested that I let her finish her project. I asked her why she hadn't done the project sooner or told me that she had a project to do earlier on, and she ignored me. It was already late, and I'm fed up of her not doing her homework, as we've had conversations about it several times, and her teacher has even called us about it. I told her I wouldn't let her finish her project and that she should have prioritized it before because it was late in the night already, and so I sent her to bed. She was visibly upset and told me that I ruin everything because now she'll be in trouble at school. My husband doesn't agree with my method, but I'm unsure of how to discipline her because she's getting older and she doesn't want to listen to anybody. Edit. My daughter ended up waking up very early this morning at around 6 a.m. to finish her project, and she completed it. She woke up by herself and took the initiative. The project isn't graded but would have an effect on her report card at the end of the school year. I would like to thank everyone for their feedback, and I'll take the ideas into account for situations in the future. Music Soccer says, honestly, you're the a-hole. Students will do things last minute. Students will spend the night finishing up a project, whether they're 10 or 25. 12 is the age where they want to stay up later, whether to watch TV, do homework, or practice something. This is a good time to teach her the consequences of being a procrastinator. In the morning, ask how tired she is. And after she gets her grade for the project, ask her if she's happy with the grade or if she thinks she could have done better. Then tell her, from my experience, saving important things like homework and projects for the last minute got me lower grades than I could have gotten. If she still doesn't change, then support her decisions. Not everyone is perfect. As someone who procrastinated until my 30s, if I decided to start the project the night before, that was on me. But I didn't learn my lesson on that until much later in life. Starting stuff last minute just enforced in my brain I didn't need to start any earlier because most of the times I got good enough grades, B's and C's to get by. I think a couple times of my parents saying to me that it's too late to start this project and telling me I had to go to bed would have curbed that behavior. Getting a 0 on something in middle school is one thing. I would hate to see it set up a pattern of the child always procrastinating. that will have much more dire consequences in their professional life. True, maybe it will work, but I've seen kids resent their parents from micromanaging them like OP is. I teach junior high, and each student is different. Doing one thing may be good for one student, but bad for another. For this girl, I think that she wants to be more independent, but hasn't learned responsibility yet. By asking these, "How would you feel about it?" questions may help her realize responsibility. Also, you have to realize that a 12-year-old brain isn't as experienced as a 30-year-old brain. I've talked to former students, and by the time they're 18, they're like, "Holy crap, I should have studied more when I was 12. This thread is a mix of answers because everyone sucks here. It is the parent's responsibility to set healthy boundaries in the household, but her current behavior and thought process is a direct consequence of your failed parenting with wishy-washy structures. 1. She throws tantrums at age 12 because that's the tactic that worked with you all throughout her childhood. 2. She resorts to coping mechanisms, video games, because she's bored after being able to get away with neglecting her personal responsibilities. If you taught her a healthy lifestyle with good study habits and a sense of individual responsibility, she would be busy prioritizing her healthy habits. 3. You could have limited the hours of video game usage instead of enabling her addiction. Using a computer is not either or. It can also be when and for what purpose. And 4. You could have informed her earlier of your rule against doing projects late at night instead of magically enforcing it on a whim with an iron fist without her prior knowledge. And our next post is by user DoodleDoo23, titled, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to change airplane seats for a mother and baby?" So I'm pretty sure there's no way that I'm the a-hole, but I'm asking here because of the flight attendant's response. I had booked a window seat. A young couple, early 30s, and a small baby were located on the same row, and the mum with the baby was seated on the aisle, and the dad was sitting in my seat by the window. He asked if I'd trade seats for his wife. Assuming he meant my window seat for the aisle seat, I said, "Sure, I'll sit in the aisle." He said, "No, you take the middle seat." I said absolutely not. There was no way that I was sitting in between the couple and next to a baby. They got super rude and frustrated, but the dad eventually moved out of the aisle seat and I sat down. The flight attendant stopped by shortly after and gave me a dirty look and said something to the couple like, "I can't believe that didn't work." She was really unfriendly for the rest of the trip. So was I the a-hole? Now in the comments, Gree Soil says, "Not the a-hole." What kind of idiot would think that you would want to sit between the two? What kind of idiot would want some random stranger sitting between him and his wife and baby? The idiot who doesn't want baby duty on a flight. Next question. What kind of idiot flight attendant would think that would work? I bet the flight attendant thought they were asking OP to switch for the aisle, not what they actually asked. I second that. There's no way she can think that's reasonable after X amount of flights with the exact same problem. To give the flight attendant the benefit of the doubt, I rate it as, "Oh my god, I can't believe that didn't work," directed at the couple with heavy sarcasm. Killian Ellis says, "Not the a-hole at all. The flight attendant seriously thought you would be willing to give up a specially booked window seat to sit in between two halves of a couple and their baby in the crappy middle seat. What the hell was she thinking?" This is so contrary to any reasonable expectation, I have to think the flight attendant misunderstood the situation or it was misrepresented. Our next post is by user Throwaway Wife Bully, titled, "Am I the a-hole for calling my wife a bully, knowing that it would trigger her?" For context, I, 36 male, work as a bus driver. I've been doing the same route for about 5 years, and have gotten to know my regulars pretty well, to the point where I'd consider most of us friends. I enjoy my job and conversation, and socializing comes easily to me. My wife, female 36, works in an office and drives, so she's never really met any of my regular passengers. So I've been married for about 5 years now, and we've got 2 little kids, male 4 and female 1, And every few weeks we do the big shop where we go to the big ASDA. Walmart for you Americans. Everything was fine, and we were getting through the list with the kids sat in the trolley when I hear my wife make a noise of disgust, and I look up to follow her gaze and see one of my regulars getting her own shopping done. Let's call her L, female 27. L is a goth. Very monochrome color scheme, always in black velvet and lace, black lipstick, powdered white face, some visible tats, the works. But she is a lovely girl, very sweet, works as a sign language interpreter at a local secondary school, is involved with age concern in her spare time, and is working towards a PhD. She's all around a nice young lady. My wife launches into a snarky tirade about her appearance. Look at that. Why would you choose to look like that? Just asking for attention, then probably complains that she can't get a job. She looks like a witch. It's creepy. Wouldn't want that in any place of work. Probably on drugs, etc., etc. I told her to stop it, as she was being very rude and judgmental, but she kept going and saying increasingly worse things about Elle, not even toning down her vitriol in front of the kids. I'll be honest, I wasn't the best guy when I was younger, and if I'd seen Elle when I was in school, I probably would have made fun of her too, but we're all adults here, and I think it's time that we left that attitude behind us. Even if I didn't know Elle, I'd think that sort of talk inappropriate, especially as my oldest is very impressionable and due to start school in September, and I don't want him thinking that's an acceptable way to behave. My wife was bullied severely during her teenage years, and she's told me how much of an impact it has to this day. Eventually, I just told her to shut up and stop acting like the same bullies that made her life hell when she was in school. She shut up quick. She hasn't spoken to me since, and I got an angry text from my sister-in-law telling me I hurt my wife beyond words, and how dare I compare her to her school bullies, who traumatized her so badly as a teenager. I've tried explaining my side, and how I want to set a good example for the kids, and also that Elle was a friend of mine, who gave us a congratulations card when we had both of our children. But neither one will listen, and I'm thinking I might have gone too far. It doesn't matter if she was traumatized by bullies in her school. If she doesn't want to be labeled a bully, she won't bully people. I know there are certain situations where it's like, you can't say that, but this is definitely one of them. Stop throwing stones in a glass house, OP's wife. No one cares, no one wants to hear it, you're just acting a fool and making yourself look stupid and rubbing off on your kid, who's just going to repeat that cycle of behavior. It is simply unacceptable. And good job to you, OP, for showing her just how disgusting her behavior is and shutting that down. She deserved it. You didn't deserve the backlash or your sister-in-law coming after you. Not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Vanishment says, not the a-hole. Honestly, I could write a bunch of paragraphs, but it seems to really just boil down to your wife not liking the fact that you held a mirror up to her personality and she wasn't prepared for the reflection. If she doesn't want to be called a bully, she shouldn't act like one as well. A lot of bullies are people who were bullied themselves. It's just that now they're in a position of power, they feel comfortable to prey on the weaker. I'm sure she didn't like that reflection, but that mirror might as well have been freshly Windexed because it was crystal clear. Hurting people hurts others. Not always. They can learn to be better, as OP has done, but if they don't acknowledge and choose to change, they become as bad as their abusers. And a lot of bullies are just bullies, enabled and allowed to be mean all their lives. What is OP's wife teaching her kids? If OP didn't call her out on it, he would be teaching them that it's just fine. OP is not the a-hole. As you're in the UK, you should remind your wife about the murder of Sophie Lancaster and ask her where she thinks the kids who did it learned that it was okay to judge people on how they look or dress. You're right to call her out on it because your kids are totally absorbing everything she says. It might be worth sitting down with the eldest and talking about how what mummy said was wrong and how bullying is bad. Not the a-hole. Piggybacking, I was going to mention this too. I was bullied severely when I was in high school, as I was a goth, and my mum was a complete mess as I was 17 when she was murdered, and she was worried. I'm 32 now. I have 13 piercings, several tattoos, and blue hair. And I've had a few dirty looks and comments of people like your wife, some when my children have been present. It doesn't bother me like it used to. I just tell my kids they don't know how to express their inner child. Isn't it more that they don't know how to express their inner adult? Children can be extremely cruel. We hope adults behave with kindness and compassion in a situation where a child would tease over differences. In my personal experience, I've found that adults are far worse than kids, and if things don't fit into their perfectly designed boxes, they throw a tantrum. The majority of kids are more versatile and curious with differences. I believe that the majority of behavior is learned, and if a kid is being an asshole, then the parents are more likely one too. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.